Hello Bruins, this is Mrs. Farouk and we're going to talk about why do cells need to divide and what are the reasons and how does that happen. So I'm going to break this screencast into two parts. The first part I'll talk about why cells divide, and then the second part the stages of cell division, which includes nuclear division, which is called mitosis, and when the cytoplasm divides, which is called cytokinesis. So why do cells divide? First of all, cells can divide to reproduce. So here's a picture of an amoeba, and it will make a copy of its DNA and then copy of all the cell organelles and divide. So that's one reason. Another reason is cell development. And development is the stages between when it's a zygote, which means a fertilized egg. So you all started as one cell, and until right before birth. So one cell divides into 2 and 4 until it's like a solid ball of cells, and until it becomes a hollow ball of cell, which is called blastula. And from blastula, further divide, becomes an embryo, and from embryo becomes a fetus. Another reason cell divide is for growth and repair. So here, if you get cut, cells get a signal to divide to form the blood clot. And in the onion root tip, you have a particular region, for example right here, where cells will divide so the root tip can get longer. Also, cells divide to produce sex cells, such as egg and sperm, and this happens in the ovaries in the females and testes of the males. Now, a big reason why cells would want to divide is cells cannot become too big. And if you think about things moving in and out through the cell membrane, so if the cell membrane is not large enough, or we call that surface area, then the needs of a cell would not be met, like nutrients going in, waste going out. And if the volume is too big, parts of the cell would not get the proper nutrients. And if you remember, the volume does not grows faster than the surface area, so the cell size is limited. So here, if you do a mathematical calculation, if you take the surface area, which is like taking the perimeter, and the next here is the volume, which is height, width times length. So here's a surface, say 1 centimeter. So if you take the total surface area, the perimeter, that's 6. And if you take the total volume, that's 1. And if you take the surface area volume ratio, 6 over 1 is 6. Now let's look at a bigger cube. Say now we have a 5 centimeter cube. Now the surface area is 150, and the total volume is 125, and our ratio is 1.21. So you see the surface area volume ratio has decreased as this cube has become bigger. Now if you take that same 1 centimeter cube and put it in this 5 centimeter cube, then we'll have the same surface volume ratio. So, summarizing, why do cells divide? Cell repair, replace old cells, development, growth, and reproduction. Now, we also need to talk about how cells package their genetic material. And how they package their genetic material depends on what kind of cell you are. So, if you remember the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, prokaryotes do not have a nucleus. Eukaryotes do. Their DNA is floating here in the cytoplasm. They have much less DNA versus eukaryotes. And also, your DNA is packaged in something called chromosomes. Now, DNA in prokaryotes is circular and is found in the cytoplasm. So here's a prokaryote, if you remember the parts. Here's a cell wall, it also has cell membrane, cytoplasm, ribosome, and here's the DNA. So its DNA is circular, and basically what happens is it basically replicates its DNA, makes a copy. Each copy goes into opposite poles of the cell, and then the cell membrane pinches in and divides. If you look at the animation, that's what's happening there. And that's called binary fission. Now, DNA in a eukaryote are enclosed in a nucleus. So it has a lot more chromosomes, so it's got to have a way to package that DNA in the nucleus, and the nucleus will divide first before the rest of the cell will divide. So here's a picture, which we call a karyotype, which means a picture of your chromosomes. So now, what is a chromosome? Chromosome is basically could be composed of chromatids, and chromatids are copies of that DNA. So all of us have a chromatid that we got from our mother and one from our father. Now, sister chromatids are something, means DNA is an exact copy of it. And if you could notice, two chromatids are attached together in a region in the middle that holds the chromatids together. And then here is called homologous pair, where you have two of each chromosome, one from the mom and one from the dad, which means it's got the same genetic information, but not exactly the same. So they're called homologous chromosomes. What are homologous chromosomes? They're same size, same shape. They carry the genes for the same traits, but not identical. Your mom might have, say, blue eye genes, and your dad might have, say, dark eye gene. So they don't have the same DNA sequence. So where are the chromosomes found? They're found in the nucleus. The way DNA is packaged around proteins, and that proteins are woven around, and it forms a chromosome. So we're going to talk about the cell cycle, and here's the cell cycle. And there's basically two parts to the cell cycle. You have the interphase. The interphase includes G1, S phase, G2 phase, and then you have mitosis.